concussion happened, I live in fear. Fear that I would never be the person that I was. Fear that all of those words and all of those ways of expressing myself that I defined myself with, that I believe, that I put a lot of importance, that I would never find them again. And the funny thing about the experience and the healing and the process and the tattoo is that it's a reminder to not be that. It's not a reminder to never forget that person. It's a reminder to never go back to that person. That there's far more balance and there's far more growth and development and openness. I'm open to hear other people, and I'm open to have other people hear me. So this is meant to remind me of who I let myself be and how it didn't fit, it wasn't right.
A lot of people who are very much in their head, you hear things like spirit animals, especially now with the New Age movement and people overusing concepts without depth. It can kind of sound like, oh, okay, they're inventing a concept or an idea, and it sounds flowery. But I find with Margaret's case, it's a great example in this present time that we're in this culture, in this environment, where beyond a shadow of a doubt, when you hear her story, my interpretation, my understanding is that however you want to perceive it, a animal, or a bird in this case, intersects her sort of blind trance that she was in with her life and her work and things, jolts her, and I mean, it's not a common thing to have happened. She went to the hospital. They didn't even believe her that a hawk attacked her. It's not an average thing that would happen in that area, especially this is in southern Ontario, jogging. An odd thing happens. It happens to be a hawk, sort of intersects her reality in a traumatic way, or seemingly traumatic way. They have eye contact for a sustained period of time. All these things, if you talk to someone who specialized or is an expert in hawks, would say this is not common, but it happened.
What do you think the hawk said to you when you stared eye to eye with him?
It's far enough. It was that simple. I had let go of everything that mattered. I had let go of balance. I had forgotten how to love my partner. I had forgotten how to love myself. I had forgotten how to take care of the world around me. I'd forgotten that, you know, when I was young, I always had this feeling that I was meant for something, that I could change something. And years ago, I had a conversation with my sisters and my mother, and I had said that to them, and it was sort of embarrassing, and my sisters thought I was crazy, and my mom said, oh, I used to have that feeling, and then when I had kids, it was gone, and I assumed that's because my kids were meant to do something. And somewhere in all that, I forgot that. I lost that. I decided to follow a business that wasn't something I could do, a world that wasn't my own. And I think the hawk just said you were meant for more.
What I love about Margaret's experience is it's a great example of how someone's deep inner health or wisdom, even when they are in the middle of what seems like disconnection, shows when you feel like you are going through a disconnect or a lack of health, that really in the bigger picture there is health. There is something or an aspect of yourself that is trying to communicate, and quite often the issue is that many of us, with our way of being brought up in this world, we're too in our head and not enough in our heart. And when we are in our head, it's almost like putting blinders on, and quite often a perceived trauma can jolt someone out of this kind of hypnotic blindness and possibly put them towards the right track.
The funny thing about tattoos is that sometimes you catch yourself in the mirror and all of a sudden you see something on your body and you're like, oh, what is that? You know, like you sort of forget somehow. And I don't find that that's been the case. Now I know it's on my back, but it does come up over my shoulder, and I don't find that I turn around and go, oh, what is that? You know, it's just, it's been a very good process, and it's been again, it just is right.
She had some kind of processing, came to me for her tattoo intuitively, we might say. She was still processing, she didn't have an answer. And then through the process of the tattoo with consciousness and awareness, with me in the studio, sum total of what that is, and I won't go into that, it brought her to a deeper connection within herself, with her inner wisdom, with her inner ability to heal, and all the truths that she needed to make sense of her life that was a mess, or perceived as a mess, all came together, all made sense to her like an epiphany. And it was all from within herself. It was all there, it was all accessible, she just didn't realize it, but through the process, got that connection, had amazing realizations, and was able to alter her course and alter that perception that I am broken or I am not whole, which is, I think, perpetuated in our culture.
Well, I'm very aware of how people react to it. And it's interesting to see the people who have supported it and who understand it, who feel it, and the people who just don't. Because of the concussion, I couldn't use my mind, so for so long it was turned off, right? And so you had no choice but to go with your heart, and that was scary, and it was horrible, and it was disconnecting, and now I realize it was right, and it was comfortable, and it was good, and it was only scary because no one around you wants you to be that way, right? Because you're not normal. It's like everybody just wants me to wake up and get over this, and then it'll be fine. Or not, I shouldn't say everybody, but you know, there are certain people in my life who do. And you know, this is my journey, and it's not going to end that way.
The tattoo process in its entirety, unadulterated, in its essence, is a doorway. Nothing needs to be done to that. I feel that my role as a facilitator and tattoo artist is to provide a path facilitating the journey to the doorway. Through heart-opened intuition, altering that pathway, that terrain to the doorway affects how the person receives and whether or not they recognize the doorway. There's got a lot of courage, and there's no just chance that in a lot of mythology and children's stories and stuff, that this is the pattern. It's people have to have courage to go into these so-called dark places, or at least gateways that seem dark, but then you get through them and there's a lot of light. It's fascinating. And for me, what's amazing is each person's experience speaks to a part of me, which makes me feel like there is less separation than meets the eye. And there's more connection between us than we really believe, because right when I'm dealing with something, someone comes in and they're dealing with an aspect of my stuff, or that what they're dealing with speaks to me like, oh my gosh, like I'm being given these little messages and truths and things to help me become whole as well. Separation is an illusion.